Well, I'm so glad y'all made it down here. I luck out and admire all of you. And I wanted to say that, we're the peace lovers. We're the peaceniks of this world. If you're wondering why I was asked to speak, it's age. I'm 86 years old, and I go from George the First to George the Worst. Peace is not a word you hear from this Bush administration. I think we're all guilty of not demanding peace talk all through our 200 years. But even our popular and religious music talked about war. They tried to romanticize war. Think about it. Onward Christian soldiers. The heck with that. And then because I love poetry and I'm a wordsmith, I just wanted to reminisce on higher education. If I should die, think only this of me, that there's one corner of a foreign field that is forever England. Well, that wasn't really the sentiment of the time. Or another one that romanticized peace was, in Flanders fields the poppies grow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. But Iraq, a totally unnecessary war, if there ever was a necessary war, should inspire a whole outburst of peace poetry, and you who like to write it ought to get at it. Or peace action, which is what we're in today. I don't think I don't think that our presence here today will convince George the Worst of anything, because he is arrogant and doesn't want to be convinced of anything. The arrogance of going through the last election, which showed every evidence that the people are against Iraq's war, then for him to promptly order 20,000 more troops and another, just to make sure, 8,000 troops. And I thought of the phrase, "We are the dead," short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field. But even in the last verse, they're encouraging war. Take up our quarrel. They were, the poet, take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break bread with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. Well, at last, Benjamin Franklin came along somewhere in there, and he said, and you can quote him because he won't be around to deny it, there never was a good war or a bad peace. Just think of that. Never a good war or a bad peace. And met my first ambassador. I said, "What is diplomacy?" And he replied, "Keeping the conversation going." Just remember that, keeping the conversation going. And I have never heard a better definition of diplomacy in all my 86 years. Because, it's annoying to me that in 86 years, we've always been emerging from one war or getting into another. And by now, we ought to be smart enough and wise enough to keep the conversation going with just to make the 200. And we don't mind, women don't mind saying we were wrong, and let's get with it. Why don't we have a UN NATO, ACETO, all sorts of international groups. It's up to us to get our conversations into those agencies. And so I'm going to close with something I heard once when I was a reporter in Washington and met a real peacenik. While I am rocking you, my son, and singing lullabies, someone is planning stouter planes for death to ride the skies. While I am dressing you, my son, in little boyish suits, someone is making uniforms and sturdy soldier boots. While you are chasing butterflies amid the tangled grass, someone is testing chemicals to make a deadlier gas. And while you eat your simple fare, perhaps the warlords sit to start again the bugle note that only called the fit. Wide and strong, my son, someone is in secret tries to make a farther-reaching gun, a gun that on some distant day, when drums of battle roll, may leave me with a golden star and anguish in my soul. That's the message to all of us. Let's stop that. Let's stop the non-peacemakers, and thank you for being here.